Okay, in today's video, we're going to be talking about this new co-op game that's supposed to be releasing at the end of this year, quarter three, they're saying, and it's honestly one of the more interesting co-op games that I've come across in recent years. It kind of blends the genre of two different games I like to say in Sea of Thieves and Left 4 Dead, but also has that roguelike experience that you see in Left 4 Dead, as well as like any other co-op style games like Call of Duty Zombies or GTFO or something like that. But this game is being developed by Keepseat Games, and the name of this game is called Jumpship. So the founders of this new development team that are making this game, they were some of the founding members of Hazelight and Mojang. And if Hazelight sounds familiar to you, they are basically the ones who helped created A Way Out, It Takes Two, the new recently made Split Fiction. And then they also worked on some games with obviously Minecraft with Mojang Studios, and as well as Mirror's Edge. So they have a lot of veteran experience coming into this game, and you can tell the moment you step foot in it. The game just feels super polished, considering that this is an early access or it was a beta closed test, something like that I got invited into. And it's a game that I've definitely been on my radar since the moment I saw the trailer about almost a year ago. So anyways, let's get into it. So basically the general gist of how this game works is that you're in this hub, you are this sort of like character who's crash landed, and you have to complete these missions to help upgrade your ship, unlock new parts of your galaxy map and things like that, almost like a Helldivers 2 in that sense, where you can kind of select the missions in the certain zones on this like galaxy map. But within the hub, you can upgrade your suits, you can do upgrades to your weapons, your characters, as well as like a bunch of little funny like things you can do. Like there's a soccer game where you can go and like actually kick the ball into the net and it booms off or whatever. But the main gist of it is that you are now, once you've done all your upgrades to your suit and your ship, there's now this mission board. Like I said, basically like Left 4 Dead 2, you kind of select the type of mission that you want to do based on the difficulty that you want to have. And then once you click in there, you go into your ship and then you warp out. So once you get into the mission, you warp out and you're kind of like in this empty zone where nothing's really after you or coming after you. And that gives you basically the chance to kind of set up your ship while in space. So you can redo your battery set to where it basically makes it to where you can kind of leave spaces for certain upgrades that you can pick up along the way during this specific run. Because while there's permanent upgrades you can have to your ship, through each run you upgrade your ship with the specific parts that you pick up, because what you can only upgrade in the hub area is basically the amount of slots that you can have. So imagine it almost like a backpack, and then once you drop into your specific run, you can now have multiple items you fill in your backpack. In this case, they're like power slots for your ship. And then as you progress through each mission, you can gather resources or craft things to then put into your ship and put into those specific power slots. Now, once you're in this gray zone, you now go back to your own actual galaxy map, your own mission board. You go there and you basically select the path you want to go. So each mission has different stages, and in the stages, there's different routes you can take to kind of reach the end, with each specific route having their own specific trade-offs in terms of certain rewards or certain loot that you can get if you complete or go this path through your specific mission at the end. Because at the end, it all leads to your final grand mission that you have to complete, which is usually the hardest part of the entire thing. So it comes in stages. And like I said, the final stage being your main objective. And each stage, or just overall missions in general, can have a mix of ship management / combat, like aerial combat, not aerial, but space combat, but also a mix of foot, where pretty much you jump in, they immediately want you to land on some sort of planet or space station or whatever it might be, and then go fight on foot. And then that's where you get into the more first person aspect of what you see in the sense of like a Left 4 Dead, where you're going through defeating AI and trying to complete whatever missions at hand, while also trying to make sure everybody's still up, having to complete specific puzzles and stuff together. And it makes it really, really interesting. But then on the other hand, you have a lot of the space combat, where there's a lot of ship management, kind of similar to what you see in Sea of Thieves, where you're one boat coming in, another one is over to the side, and you guys are trying to battling in, making sure the ship's staying afloat. So you'll have multiple ships coming after you. People will try to board your ships. You have to kill them off. You have to repair your ship. You have to make sure that your ship has enough armor. So it requires a lot of coordination amongst teammates, which is something that I really enjoy a lot. And then once you complete that specific stage in the entire mission, they're going to drop certain loot that you can go pick up, and there's this main material that you're looking for called materia. Materia is basically the main thing that you use to craft things. It's almost like a currency in a sense. Every time you destroy another ship or destroy another enemy or whatever it might be, they're going to drop materia. You then use that materia, you go into your crafting area where you then can craft weapons, armor, pieces for your ship, anything you need to help progress your way through the entire mission and get to that final objective, because it scales a lot by the difficulty, because the different difficulties each mission can be determines the amount of stages that they're going to be and how difficult each stage of that mission is going to be. Now that you have a general understanding of what the game is and the overall gameplay loop, some of the things that I really like about this game is just the overall teamwork, the heavy teamwork that it requires, especially when it gets into like more ship combat. Like on foot combat, it can be a little bit more individualistic in that sense. There is going to be moments where you're going to have to protect players as they're carrying specific things. But where things I think get the most difficult, the most tricky, and where you really need a strong team that at least knows what they're doing is once your ship's getting raided, once it's getting attacked, making sure everybody's in their right positions to help rebuild the ship, provide ammo, go out there and go loot whatever you just killed, because you can also eject off of the ship and go float into space and control yourself, and then you can use your grapple to get back in. So having the dedicated roles, I enjoy a lot. I think it's very interesting to kind of have that. It makes it a little bit more fun, and some people may not be good at specific things, but they might be good at this. And the overall variety of gameplay can really make things interesting. So you're not kind of doing the same mundane thing over and over again, like whether it be on foot, killing the same enemies. And I want to say a lot of the enemies are procedurally generated. If I might be wrong on that, but I want to say that is the case. But it gives you an option to kind of do different things that you may not want to do in that specific moment. Maybe you want to work on your piloting skills. This session you can be the pilot. But if you don't, and you want to work more on understanding the ship management part of it, then you can spend this next run doing that. Also, I like the upgrading of ships. It feels like you're actually making progress, not just within in each individual run in that roguelike system, but also just that overall upgrading of your suits, of your ships. It makes it very satisfying, and being able to customize your ships to whatever you want. And this, mind you, this is all just within the demo. They actually allow a good amount of content within the early access build that they had for Steam Next Fest. So I'm really interested to see what they're going to do for the full release as it comes down the road in the next following months. I found that the AI that they give you if you're playing 1 or 2 players or even 3 players, they give you the AI support is actually super helpful. Mostly the AI support comes in the form of ship management. There's going to be, I played a lot 2 players, and then we did a couple times with 3 players, and usually on the 2 players the AI pretty much refills your ship ammo. Actually almost entirely they did. And then once you get to 3 players, you're actually going to start getting enemies boarding your ship, which you don't get in 2 player because honestly, it'd be too much. So pretty much when I was playing 2 player, we had 1 pilot while the other one was pretty much redoing everything, redoing the shields, the armor, gathering the materia, all that kind of stuff. Once we got a 3 player, you kind of had a pick task of who's going to do what, because now they're giving you more responsibility. So as the more players play, the more responsibilities you give, the less they do, the more the AI helps you, which I think is a really cool system. Another thing too, and I kind of briefly mentioned this, I like the different objectives that they give you to play. It makes it a little bit more fresh, and every time you want to do something, it's a little different. And quite honestly, from what we can tell just from the Steam Next Fest, because they had on the mission board, you had this specific section that you can only play, but then you can see the rest of it. It seems like you're going to have a lot of content to do, and that's going to be really fun, and that's really exciting to see, because one of the toughest things that I'm going to be talking about soon in my FBC Firebreak video is that I hate it when I see a game get hindered by the amount of content that it has. You see this game that has amazing bones, really good bones, but there's just not enough to play of it, and that's really disappointing to see. But in this game, I don't feel that that's going to be the case. Obviously, time will tell as the full release comes into fruition, but from all accounts, from what I saw, it looks like it's going to be pretty deep in the amount of stuff that you can do. Also, a fun thing about this game is there's a lot of goofy elements. It tries not to take itself too seriously, which I do kind of like a lot. Like there's an element where you can open up this like pizza oven and you can take slices of pieces of pizza heal you. Like stuff like that is really fun. Or They have I think a soda machine, and they do so. Like I like that the game is not trying to take itself too seriously and allows for moments of like fun time that you can have with your boys or whatever it might be. But like I said, the final thing I really liked is just how polished it felt. It felt really good for the most part. I think maybe a little bit more performance boost would have been nice, but quite honestly, I had no issues with it. I think there were some minor like graphical glitches I would come across. And like I said, I think the biggest thing is probably the performance. But outside of that, I think the game played really nice. Also too, in terms of progression, I don't feel like the progression of this game was super big. Because sometimes if you see games with a massively long progression system, sometimes it can be overwhelming for the casual player. And I feel like because this game, at least as of right now, what I've played, it doesn't seem like it's going to have that. It seems like you can pretty much play with anyone, because one of the biggest downfalls to co-op games, especially ones with big progression trees, is that it becomes almost impossible to have a balanced gameplay with a new friend. So like, let's use Warhammer Darktide for example. Like, I can't immediately go play in the highest difficulty because this guy's he's gonna have to put in 10 hours to even get to that level of where we can play at this specific level. I feel like this game, even after a few missions, even though his certain progressions aren't that high, it feels like as long as he can contribute, that's great. So we can still play with a full squad. So I might have somebody who is super high level, I might be super high level, but then you have one guy that's about medium level, and then a guy who's like his second time playing. There's a place for that guy to at least help and be effective, whether it be manning the guns, whether it be arming the shields and stuff like that. So it feels like you can kind of make it work with lower skill players when possible. Obviously, I would imagine once you get to those higher difficulties, it's going to be probably tough. But like I said, time will tell. I'm going to do a full review once this game fully comes out because, like I said, this was just pretty much a small demo on Steam Next Fest. So speaking of that, and when this game comes out, according to the developers, they're saying Q3 2025. So I'm going to bet that they're probably going to release around that time from what I've told and what I've played. Like I said, it feels really smooth. It is a possibility Q4, but Q3 is kind of right around that corner. We're pretty much in Q3 now. So I'm thinking like August, September, but I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if they want to push it out towards the end of the year. Like I said, it depends probably on how much content they want to release. But I do think this game's gonna have a really good job at capturing new players because it's something different, but it's also familiar at the same time if you are accustomed to certain co-op style games. So I'm really pumped for it. If you guys are interested in this game as well, be sure to wishlist it on Steam. Wishlisting is really helpful for indie devs. I always try to make an effort to, if it's a game I find interesting and it's not out yet. One, just so I don't forget, but two, it really helps them a lot in terms of funding and whatever it might be. And also, have you guys played this? Did you guys play this in the Steam Next Fest? If you did, let me know down below. And if you liked it, and if you are interested or excited, and if you haven't played it yet. So yeah, if you guys are more interested in more content just like this, please feel free to like and subscribe. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, everybody.